Well, 50% of Australians say they feel worse off compared to 2 years ago. That's according to the latest news poll. And another blow to the Prime Minister. The data shows that Middle Australia is struggling to cope with rate hikes and the rising cost of living. Anthony Albanese will seek to reassure Labor colleagues at today's caucus meeting, confident the party can re-engage with voters on key issues. It comes as the Treasurer is, of course, helping to prepare the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook next month, as otherwise known as the mid-year budget update. Helping him, not right this moment, because he's here in the studio, is the Assistant Treasurer, Stephen Jones. Thanks for your time.
Good to be with you, Tom.
People are doing it tough. That's not news to you, but inflation, I think the government and Treasury thought it would be more tamed by now, and it's not. Do you need to change tack? Do you need to do more, do something different?
Look, the key thing that we can do to deal with inflation, cost of living, number one job, manage fiscal policy, bring the budget back into surplus, tick, we've done that. Ensure that we have ongoing fiscal restraint, we're doing that. Ensure that we can get wages moving again, we're doing that. And thirdly, if there's areas where we can provide targeted cost of living relief without adding to the inflation problem, then we should look at that. So our policies around cheaper medicines, access to doctors, childcare, 18% up to an 18% drop in childcare costs, for example, in that age group you mentioned. So look, we're doing some practical things where we can add to that energy bill relief, but the pathway is narrow for government to ensure that we manage what we do in terms of price and cost of living relief without making the situation worse. And
we know that.
We're trying to do that.
So on that last one, are you looking at more measures in that regard in the mid-year budget update?
Always looking at ways that we can provide relief to households and make the situation better, not worse. Of course, the overarching thing in all of this is ensuring that over time we're managing the budget responsibly. Big budget turnaround in our first 18 months. We want to ensure that we're able to maintain that momentum.
And on the budget side of things, it's going better than expected. So given that and inflation's worse than expected.
We had a big hill to get over, Tom. You've got to remember that. We inherited a big surplus. We've turned that around. We want to ensure that we don't that we maintain that discipline.
Right. But what does that mean around your approach in the mid-year budget update? I think people want to know, has the situation changed enough? Are they doing it tough enough for you to sort of change from plan A to plan B around searching really hard, figuring out a way to help cost of living, again, obviously without hurting inflation? Has that become the number one priority for the mid-year budget update?
Look, the fighting inflation and providing cost of living relief has been our number one priority all year. But you're not going to see any big lurch in direction or any knee-jerk reactions. Steady as we go, ensuring we maintain budget discipline.
So if someone's hoping that they'll get major relief to cost of living in the mid-year budget update, not possible.
The message to your listeners, Tom, is responsible budget management is the most important thing we can do. Secondly, ensuring we have wages settings which enable people two sides to the cost of living, how much things it costs, how much money you're getting in through your paycheck each fortnight. And our wages policy is directed at ensuring we can get wages moving again. It's working. Our number one piece, managing the budget. So that's what you can expect, strong budget discipline.
But don't expect some huge headline grabber that will make a big difference to cost of living in the mid-year budget update. That's what
no massive lurch in policy
Well, I know you're saying lurch.
No massive knee-jerk
reactions. You've also
reactions.
said, cost of living is number one. You could easily have something that helps out as a measure without that being called a lurch.
And we've already got those things scheduled in, Tom. So our energy bill relief, our childcare relief.
As is. That's
big things announced by the health minister, Mark Butler, in medicines and Medicare. These are significant, meaningful changes. But what your listeners won't want to hear from us is that there's this massive new cash splash. Because that will not be responsible. That won't be responsible. That'll make the inflation problem worse, and that'll force the Reserve Bank.
Right, as you said, there's ways to do it.
Of course.
To not make inflation worse. But it sounds like we can put the breaking news straps away for the mid-year budget update.
Correct. I will leave it to the Treasurer. To do the mid-year update. The mid-year update will be announced in due course by the Treasurer. I'm not going to front-run any of that, but there'll be no massive lurch in direction.
What about immigration settings? I mean, you actually agreed with the prospect that maybe this needs to be looked at around the number of students arriving to Australia. Is that being looked at, and when would a change perhaps take effect here?
A lot of work, and I've seen media reporting on this, a lot of work is being done by Claire O'Neill and Andrew Giles in this area to ensure that we've got the settings right and ensuring the great benefits of our student intake. It's good for our services income, it's good for the GDP, but we've got to ensure that we maintain discipline in there to ensure all the other budget settings are in place and fiscal settings
that's not
are in
about
place.
some short-term address on this, because it's obviously demand-driven and it's way higher than it was expected to be. Is this a lever you could pull to just reduce this over this current year, or is this a longer-term
Look, I'll leave
project?
it to Claire and Andrew.
But when you said it was
and the
being looked at,
Treasurer,
what did you mean there?
I said any responsible government will look at all of these areas of pressure and ensure that we've got the settings right, and I know that they are doing that.
Tax changes to the family home. This was put out there. The PM sort of...
Can we knock this on the head, mate?
Well, can you?
Can we knock this on the head?
You can.
Look,
I can't. You can.
I saw this speculation in the House, and it really is in the break glass category of an opposition trying to scare up scary nonsense. Not on the agenda, mate.
In any way, shape,
not
or form?
on the agenda, mate. It's not being discussed.
Something that you could take to the next election?
It's not being discussed, Tom. Can I just knock it?
And then just to clarify, that's any changes to the way the family...
I don't know how more clearer I can be, Tom. It's not being discussed.
All right. And just finally, this super insurance inquiry, is that the really specific aim here to make sure death benefits are actually paid in a timely manner? There's been a series of stories on Sky News where they haven't been. I mean, this is the last thing someone should go through when a partner perhaps has died and they're having to jump through hoops, including with superannuation funds.
Yeah, I first started cracking on the whip on this at about November last year, Tom, where I put the industry on notice that service standards have to be improved, including in this area that you've mentioned just now.
New laws coming? What do you think?
Look, I don't want to be the sort of minister that sees the answer to everything as a new regulation or a new law. I want to see the funds themselves lift their game, and I'm seeing some improvement, I've got to say. I'm seeing some improvement. I note that there's a new Senate inquiry into this and about 30 other things. We'll always listen to good ideas and good advice when they come forward.
Stephen Jones, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good to be with you.